Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Vicharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vishatya Desha Haride Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 24, the renunciation of Kardama Muni. Text 11, translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Sabhajayan Vishuddhena Chetasa Tachchikirshitam Prarishyamanair Rasubi Kardamam Chedam Abhyadhat Sabhajayan Vishuddhena Chetasa Tachchikirshitam Prarishyamanair Rasubi Kardamam Chedam Abhyadhat Sabhajayan Vishuddhena Chetasa Tachchikirshitam Prarishyamanair Rasubi Kardamam Chedam Abhyadhat Sabhajayan, worshipping, Vishuddhena, pure, Chetasa, with a heart, Tat, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Chikir-shitam, the intended activities, Prarisyamanai, gladdened, Asubi, with senses, Kardamam, to Kardama Muni, Cha, and Devahuti, Idam, this, Abhyadhat, spoke. After worshipping the Supreme Lord with gladdened senses and a pure heart for His intended activities as an incarnation, Brahma spoke as follows to Kardama and Devahuti. Purport. As explained in Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, anyone who understands the transcendental activities, the appearance and the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is to be considered liberated. Brahma, therefore, is a liberated soul. Although he's in charge of this material world, he's not exactly like the common living entity. Since he's liberated from the majority of the follies of the common living entities, he was in knowledge of the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he therefore worshipped the Lord's activities. And with a glad heart he also praised Kardama Muni, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Kapila had appeared as his son. One who can become the father of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly a great devotee. There is a verse spoken by a Brahmana in which he says that he does not know what the Vedas and what the Puranas are, but while others might be interested in the Vedas or Puranas, he is interested in Nanda Maharaj, who appeared as the father of Krishna. The Brahmana wanted to worship Nanda Maharaj because the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a child crawled in the yard of his house. These are some of the good sentiments of devotees. The recognized devotee brings forth the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his son, how he should be praised. Brahma therefore not only worshipped the incarnation of Godhead, Kapila, but also praised his so-called father, Kardama Muni. Sabhajayan vishuddhena cetasa chikirshitam prarishyamana irasubi kardamam chedam abhyadhat. After worshipping the Supreme Lord with gladdened senses and a pure heart for his intended activities as an incarnation, Brahma spoke as follows to Kardama and Devahuti. Amagyanatimirandasya gyananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So first Prabhupada mentions 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We all should know this verse. Janma karma chame divyam yavanyas chatni tatvataha chakvadeha puna janma naiti mam eti. Arjuna, text number 9. Krishna says, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activity does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So, the conclusion also Prabhupada states in the purport is, because Brahma knows the appearance and disappearance and activities of the Lord, he's a liberated soul. He's not exactly like a common living entity. He is a jiva, but he's in charge of the material world. He's the creator. He doesn't even have a mother. He's Swayambhu. He appeared from the lotus flower that sprouted from Garbhodakashayi, Vishnu's navel. So he's special. And he is the head of our sampradaya. So let's see what Prabhupada says about this verse, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. Purport, the Lord's descent from his transcendental abode is already explained in the 6th verse. The 6th verse is Ajopisan Avyayatma, we also quoted that the other day, Bhutanam Ishvaropisan Prakritim Svam Adhisthaya Svam, Sambhavami Atma Maya, that's the important part. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So that we quoted in context with Krishna's appearance in strange forms like tortoises and pigs, wild boar. But he's very beautiful as described in the 3rd canto. Normally we don't like pigs. Neither how they look, neither how they smell. But definitely, for sure, Varaha doesn't smell bad. He probably has very beautiful, very, pleasant, transcendental fragrance. So, because the Lord does not take on a material body when he comes. So, one who can understand the truth of the appearance of the personality of Godhead is already liberated from material bondage, and therefore he returns to the kingdom of God immediately after quitting this present material body. Such liberation of the living entity from material bondage is not at all easy. The impersonalists and the yogis attain liberation only after much trouble and many, many births. Even then, the liberation they achieve, merging into the impersonal Brahma Jyoti of the Lord, is only partial, and there's a risk of returning to this material world. But the devotee, simply by understanding the transcendental nature of the body and activities of the Lord, attains the abode of the Lord after ending this body, and does not run the risk of returning to this material world. In the Brahma Samhita 50:33, it is stated that the Lord has many, many forms and incarnations. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Ananta Rupam. Although there are many transcendental forms of the Lord, they are still one and the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. One has to understand this fact with conviction, although it is incomprehensible to mundane scholars and empiric philosophers. There's another verse that also states that Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksadaiva Ridayeshu Vilokayanti Vedeshu Durlabam. That's what Prabhupada says here. Even you may study the Vedas, you may be a great scholar, but Durlabha, very difficult to attain the right understanding about the Lord. But then Adurlabam Atma Bhaktau, if there is somebody who has bhakti, a soul, Atma Bhaktau, then it becomes very easy. So, as stated in the Vedas, Purusha Bodhini Upanishad, Ekodeva Nityalilanu Ruk Raktu Bhaktyapi Hridayantaratma. The one Supreme Personality of God that is eternally engaged in many, many transcendental forms in relationships with His unalloyed devotees. This Vedic version is confirmed in this verse of the Gita personally by the Lord. He who accepts this truth on the strength of the authority of the Vedas and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who does not waste time in philosophical speculations, attains the highest perfectional stage of liberation. Simply by accepting this truth on faith, one can without a doubt attain liberation. The Vedic version, Tattvamasi, is actually applied in this case. Anyone who understands Lord Krishna to be the Supreme, or who says unto the Lord, you are the same Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, as Arjuna did, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, is certainly liberated instantly, and consequently his entrance into the transcendental association of the Lord is guaranteed. In other words, such a faithful devotee of the Lord attains perfection. And this is confirmed by the following Vedic assertion. Tvameva viditvati mrityumeti nanyapanta vidyate janaya. One can attain the perfect stage of liberation from birth and death simply by knowing the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there's no other way to achieve this perfection. That there is no alternative means that anyone who does not understand Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is surely in the mode of ignorance, and consequently he will not attain salvation simply, so to speak, by licking the outer surface of the bottle of honey, or by interpreting the Bhagavad Gita according to mundane scholarship. Such empiric philosophers may assume very important roles in the material world, but they are not necessarily eligible for liberation. Such puffed up mundane scholars have to wait for the causeless mercy of the devotee of the Lord. One should therefore cultivate Krishna consciousness with faith and knowledge, and in this way attain perfection. Any comments or questions? Yes.
Just like we all know how described by Prabhupada's book, appearance of Lord Krishna in Krishna book, and also Prabhupada gives purpose. Does it mean that we all will go back to home? Or
if you accept, as actually it was surprising, you may have heard and remember what he says. Where does it say that? Yes, simply by accepting this truth on faith, one can, without a doubt, attain liberation. So, you believe it, huh? That means faith. You may not understand all the details, or all the intricacies, but if you accept, and then apparently yes, you can. Anyone who understands Lord Krishna to be the Supreme, or who says unto the Lord, "You are the same Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead," is certainly liberated instantly, and consequently his entrance into the transcendental association of the Lord is guaranteed. So, in other words, such a faithful devotee of the Lord attains perfection. So, we may wonder how this is to be understood. And therefore we will go to the 10th chapter. Oh my God, what happened here? The one word. You don't have another Bhagavad Gita, huh?
Yes, I have.
Because how can I read? And this is exactly the verse I need.
Yes, I can bring. I have in my room.
And now it's in your room, my goodness. I'm coming, just now coming. Vrindavan monkey. Well, I think there was enough time to substitute this. Monkeys are rascals. Very much. Even in Vrindavan. And because not only what is ripped, these pages are missing. That he chewed it probably, swallowed it. So, this is not good. Because it's not even there. I mean, this is ripped, this can be fixed. So, anyway, what I want to say, I can find, I think, in an earlier verse, don't bother, don't go anywhere. Well, Krishna says, in the Chatushloki, and the verse is, Tesham evanukam partam. Would I know a little bit by heart? This is not there. So to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with a shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So, Prabhupada says in the purport, very important to remember that. There are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion. But even if a devotee does not take advantage of the literatures or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within the heart. So Krishna is in the heart, he can help. In the verse before he says, Tisham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam. So he gives whatever we need to know if we have the right attitude. So even knowing his appearance, disappearance, his activities, if we are sincere, if we serve with sincerity, then, as Prabhupada says in the next sentence, so the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge, because Krishna gives. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. And he practically says the same thing in a verse before, but it's basically the same idea. That depends on our attitude, just like this Vedishu, Sudurlabham. It's not just Durlabham actually, it's Sudurlabham. Whenever it's Su, it's like multiplied. It's already difficult, but it's very difficult, which means impossible. You cannot, simply by study, gain access to you can say, well, because Krishna says it's also confidential knowledge. It's confidential, huh? He says, now it will be even more confidential. So everything is confidential, and then there's the most confidential in the 9th chapter, and more confidential at the end. You just give up everything, surrender unto me. So you cannot access by intellectual prowess or study or whatever, scientific investigation and whatever they do. But by Krishna's mercy, because he's in the heart and he is full of knowledge, and he can give also, just like as he can appear in any way, he also can give knowledge to anybody in any way he likes. Which should not be an excuse. Oh, then I don't have to read, right? But actually, that's what Prabhupada says here. Even if one does not take advantage, or is not able, for whatever reason, to study and to memorize verses and to be a little bit philosophical, this does not mean that if the devotee is sincere and is really not able, not that he is lazy. Lazy is not acceptable, but just not able for whatever reason. Then Krishna will give whatever they lack. He gives the knowledge necessary to come to him. And then one may easily understand his appearance, disappearance, his activities, without even having studied the scriptures, because he can give the knowledge. So that we should also understand. It's not a mechanical thing. Ultimately it's Tesham Evanu Kampartam, by my compassion, mercy. He sees, there's a devotee struggling, he's a little stupid, but he's very sincere. Yes, one may be a little stupid, Stupid in the sense of simple-minded. Not a big intellectual, who can twist the words and find some strange meaning, as those scholars do. They're much worse. Big Sanskrit scholars who study Bhagavad Gita and that then twist the meaning, what is called jugglery of words. Because in Sanskrit you can do that. Sanskrit is such a language that by grammar, in this way, on that way, you can try to find out some other meaning from something which is actually very obvious. So these people, although they are so learned, apparently, they're fool number one. They're really stupid. And somebody who has no knowledge of Sanskrit has no scholarly inclination even for studies, but Krishna can, if such a devotee is sincere, Krishna can enlighten him from the heart. No problem. So, therefore even animals can become devotees, like monkeys, like Hanuman. I don't think he was a big scholar. No, Prabhupada sometimes said, even an animal like a monkey, like Hanuman, just to make the point, that one doesn't have to be born in a highly advanced family, Brahmana family, and get first-class education in some university, and then you can, sometimes this is just the obstacle, because you're so proud of your prowess, so-called intellectual prowess, that it becomes a big wall that separates you from real knowledge. Maya aparita jnana. Maya just takes away real knowledge, and you think you are very knowledgeable, but it's actually false, temporary, useless knowledge. Like we mentioned, the scientists. There are people who spend all their life to study the behavior of fruit flies. And then they write a big book about fruit flies, how they live, how they have their children, and whatever they do. And they really get completely into then they become a fruit fly in the next life. What is the use? And they may even get a Nobel Prize, for such a very exhaustive study of fruit flies. It's Rama Eva Kevalam, absolutely useless from all aspects of life. But they're very proud. They think they're big scientists and scholars. No, this is not the qualification. So yes, as we have read, even somebody simply by having faith by hearing from the right source about Krishna's appearance, his activities, and one accepts it without, but so many doubts arise from so-called intellectual, too much thinking. So, then, as Prabhupada says, one is guaranteed to come to Krishna. I think. No? That's what it says. What else? Today we really will stop early. Maybe.
What about this point? Sarvadharma Paritaja, group all your
what about it?
religiosity and to me. And we know also about Lord Chaitanya when he instructed the Brahmana Kurma.
Mm-hmm.
Don't change anything in your life, simply.
Especially artificially. You may change, but don't think, I have to change in order to. Like he thought, I have to give up everything, I have to go with you. Wait a second, let's see your situation. Then you have a family, you have children, and you just think, now I want to be spiritual, this is all Maya. No. But if one is older, for example, and the family life is practically done, probably Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would have reacted in a different way. Yeah, come on, don't look back. Don't even say goodbye. Yes, because he behaved differently with different persons. Raghunath Das Goswami became the emblem of renunciation, but not everybody else. They don't have to do the same thing. So, anyway, so what do you want to say?
No. Because sometimes we enter Krishna consciousness and yes, you partially answer. Some devotees, maybe for someone it's better to stay in his position
Yes.
and continue, maybe for others.
Yes. Even studies, generally we don't recommend, that you waste time in university depending on the career, studying, I don't know what. But in some cases one may say, well, you only, need it, because then we become fanatical, this is all Maya, I'll give it up. But maybe you're only half a year away from having a title or an exam, which may be useful. Either in Krishna consciousness, depending on the career, or even for your life, if you then need to maintain a family. And you may as well then have a profession, based on what you have studied. Why then go, it's very obvious. So, but that depends on the circumstance of the person. In some other case, one says, just stop it. You're so absorbed in it, you cannot think of Krishna in any way, So, yes, everything depends on person, time, and place. Who is it? Desha, Kala, Patra. Very important, because otherwise we become a little bit fanatical and ignorant, trying to apply the same thing to a circumstance which just doesn't, it's not the same. And you try to, as they say, put a round peg into a square hole. It doesn't fit. You understand the point? If you have some square hole, or better even a square peg into a round hole, which will be very difficult. It doesn't fit. And then if you do that by force, something is not so good. So one has to see, what is your situation? Does this fit? Or is this artificially trying to do something which is not, doesn't give a good result? Wow, we'll have a record today. We're almost finished. So, this is, I think, quite clear. And so then we continue. Well, Brahma will continue to speak to Kardama. The next verse tomorrow will be important. So, anything else? Last chance, as they say in the auctions. 1, 2, and, oh, okay. Last minute they go up, 100,000, okay.
If someone is Krishna conscious many years and he studied the scriptures and associated with devotees, but don't perform spiritual activities as service in temple directly and have this opportunity, how much percent he will devote his Krishna consciousness with the years?
Years or ears?
Yes.
Years? Years?
With the time.
With time. That's what I thought, yes. Good question. Well, let's say, because we know there are 9 processes of devotional service, right? Hearing, chanting, remembering, etc., etc. Then comes to mind what we read the other day about the chanting, for example. Because, as you said, somebody studies only, practically, no? Maybe he's with devotees, but he's only studying, all day reading, which means all day just reading, only reading, doing nothing else. When somebody comes, can you please help me? Yeah, I'm busy. I have to read another chapter. This is my sadhana. So this is actually practically the same as somebody who will tell you, well, I'm chanting and my sadhana is all day chanting. As Prabhupada said, you can't do that. It's actually false. This is for liberated persons. Who can sit all day long and study? Who can sit all day long and just chant? Or just hear? It's, because the mind will not be able to concentrate. You may read 1 page and 2 pages, and then after that, you may sit there with a book, and it appears you are reading, but your mind is 10,000 kilometers away, thinking of, we don't want to speculate. We may say things which might sound offensive, but Prabhupada says it like that. I can repeat it about the so-called chanters who sit under a tree and try to imitate Haridas Thakur. They just think of money and sex. That's all. So, sounds a little, drastic and extreme. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur composed a poem, Dushtamana. The rascal mind who pretends to be a Vaishnava and goes to a secluded place to chant and do bhajan so that, others may come and say, great saint. He's just, he's not involved in any material activity, only very spiritually. It's bogus because your mind is thinking of materialistic things. So unless one is very highly advanced, which generally would mean at the end of life, after you have worked very, very hard every day, then you have like the right, and your body is like, it's done, he hardly can move. Then you may do bhajan, just sit and chant and hear and read. And even then, we follow Prabhupada's example to fight until the last breath on the battlefield of preaching, if possible. So I think, that's the difference between the Bhajananandi and the Goshtanandi. Our lineage is basically Goshtanandi, with a few exceptions, but that's the point. You cannot imitate very special personalities. So, and as Prabhupada said in that purport, which I mentioned, he said most of the souls, which means practically everybody, are conditioned. And they can't just chant the holy name and that's all they can do. No, they have to be engaged in some practical service. So practical service is practically necessary for everybody. If somebody tries to avoid practical service under the plea or excuse of simply, I'm engaged in hearing and chanting all day long, it's very doubtful that this is actually sincerely true. He may be cheating, just being lazy, or for whatever other reason. So one has to be a little bit suspicious. And if you think yourself you're like that, then you're definitely probably in Maya. I think we should think like that. One has to be, one should do some practical service. There should be some result. Not everything is in your mind. The mind is a rascal. The mind we don't trust it. And the acharyas confirm that. They say, no, not for you. So you don't have a problem, you don't have a problem. Very active. And we all should be active, But at the same time, now that's the other extreme. No time for hearing and chanting. That doesn't work either. So all extremes are normally not good. We know that even in the material world, the extremes are not good. Too hot, too cold, no. If you have some prasadam, too much salt, no. No salt, no. It has to be just the right amount. So there has to be a right amount for chanting, some time for reading, and of course time for practical service. And to balance that is the art of living. But generally that everybody, like even Krishna says, between recreation and work, there has to be a balance. Not just only work. Not just only recreation. Well, we have those people, the playboys. Those who don't have to work. Then they become degraded. Because what are you going to do all day? Well, eating, sleeping, that's for sure. Eating, sleeping. Then nowadays it means sex and drugs and rock and roll. That's all you're going to do. Because, let's enjoy. So, have no time for spiritual activities is not good. And only so-called spiritual activities with no practice also. So the extremes should be avoided. Therefore, we have a system already. We have now we did our so-called, spiritual part. And that's like, we all should, as far as possible, from getting up sufficiently early to like 9, and then the rest of the day we should be engaged. Not just, sit around and all day long chanting. We have people like that, they're always so, I have to finish my rounds, but all day long they have to finish their rounds, It's ridiculous. It's an excuse, finally. They're just lazy. So no, we have the morning for that, and then, generally in the evening also, you have the sandwich, but in between, for practically 10 hours, 12 hours, one should be engaged in one way or another. You subtract a little bit for eating, some resting, but a minimum 8 even in the material world is like the normal, activity. You're busy. You're not just, and those who, again, are lazy, they just sit in the office, and when nobody's looking, go to sleep. Or in India, they go on the lawn. They do. And Prabhupada said it. He gave the example, He knows. I know people like that. They think as much sleeping as possible because that's gain. It's a waste of time. Yes, they think like that, If I can sleep, I have gained because they also pay me, I'm sleeping and they're paying. It's just fantastic. But it's cheating. You cheat yourself, you cheat the others, and generally Krishna makes some arrangement, you're exposed, and they fire you, as a lazy bum. But it's common sense, and it means sincerity. Devotees, they shouldn't try to be like that. In the material world, they try to be like that. They think they're very smart. If I go to the office and I'm getting paid for just sitting around and drinking coffee, and I maybe do some little thing, and now I'm done. Now I can do whatever I want. So no, devotee should look. What else can I do? Now I'm finished with this. Not that now I'm going to sleep. No, what else can be done? It's a different mentality. So,
what about maybe there will be some devotees which have the bhajana
inclination?
Not bhajana, the
Goshtanani, yes.
Activities, and even engagement in hearing and chanting, and maybe some reading, maybe, I'm not sure how much to read, but maybe there is something. But they like not so much interest to visit the temple and associate with the devotees there. Or like the Sunday program.
So what does that mean? They preach to who?
Just like maybe they preach to the devotees, to maybe some junior devotees, or to other. They even can make some devotees also, but not so interested to visit the temple or maybe Sunday program.
Well, we have to study each
cases. Will be
yeah, generally that's a very risky lifestyle. Prabhupada many times mentions that ISKCON was created to give an opportunity to be with devotees and in their association hear and chant. If we become like, separatists in one sense, you don't see anybody, you have no friends among, I don't know, I'm just saying, somebody who's like on his own, a lone warrior, the lone warrior in the world. But being alone, that's practically, it's a recipe for sooner or later have difficulties. Because you need sadhu sangha. And to have sadhu sangha only through books is it's only for more advanced souls. No, we have to really have some person in front of us to speak to hear from, like that. So, if we avoid to be with devotees, then one may ask why. What's your motive? Well, I live, 10,000 kilometers away. There's no temple in 10,000 kilometer radius, which probably doesn't exist. So it's a lame excuse. But yes, one may be very, very far away from any temple, so it may not be very practical, to go to the Sunday feast if I'm 200 kilometers away. That's a big endeavor, 200 going, 200 coming. So, again, why are you living so far away? Another question. No, it's definitely a question. Then one may think about maybe I should change my location to be more close to a temple, because otherwise it's practically impossible, and maybe once a year I can go. I make the endeavor. Very difficult to advance if you're just always alone. Practically, not possible. So, but it's up to you, because you choose to live where you live. What's the point of living completely far away from any ISKCON center or any temple or any Vaishnava association? It's not a good choice, I think. Is it? It's not a good choice. So, then we have to see in time, if it's a very highly advanced soul, they can live anywhere, like Prabhupada was 1 year alone in New York. Not a problem. He's always said it was very difficult, but not difficult because he was, falling into Maya because there was no temple. If you're very highly advanced, then you create the atmosphere around yourself. But again, that is not for any ordinary person. Ordinarily, we need to have the association of more advanced devotees to advance ourselves. That's the law. So then you judge by the result. Is that person becoming more and more Krishna conscious, more and more detached from the material world? And those who associate with that person, are they becoming nice devotees? Wow, then you say, well, chapeau, They say like that. All my reverences and obeisances to you. I couldn't do it. It's like Ramananda Roy. He can train the Devadasis in a play for Jagannath by touching them and bathing them. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I couldn't do that. He's the only one who can do that. So then to think, he do it, then why shouldn't I do it? Well, if you do it, you immediately, start to embrace them and want, try to seduce them. And then you get in trouble. That's the law. You don't think, you can do something which only very special souls can do. Then that's risky. It's just risky, that's all. Therefore, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati criticized his own disciples who had this tendency of going to a forest, just sit down somewhere and chant. He said, no, I don't. He actually wrote a letter to one temple president where nearby one such devotee was doing his bhajan, and he said, I don't accept this as devotional service. If you can get him back and engage him in your temple, this will be a great service. Just see. So, we have these examples, we should take note. So, we are good now. We can finish here. So good timing. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.